Michael Price's avatar. He's currently helping clients manage their GSA and VA contracts, and he reads every comment. Welcome to the deep dive. I am your host, Michael Price, and we are jumping into something pretty incredible today.
Hey everyone, I'm Nancy. Yeah, I am really excited to be here and dig into this with you. Today is June 20th.
So to start us off, I want you to imagine you are like playing a high-stakes game. The rules are intense, your opponent is just totally formidable, and the referee is watching every single move you make.
Right, just standing there with a clipboard, taking notes on everything.
Exactly. But here is the catch. Every time there is a tie, like every single time the score is exactly dead even, the referee quietly awards the point to your opponent.
Oh, wow, that is incredibly frustrating.
Right. You are losing games. You absolutely should be winning. You walk away completely defeated simply because the referee is, well, they are completely ignoring the official tiebreaker rule.
Which is just wild to think about.
And I mean, the wildest part of this whole scenario, you don't even know that rule exists.
Yeah, and it creates this crushing psychological burden, you know? You walk away from that table thinking like you just weren't good enough.
Exactly, you blame yourself.
Right, you assume your case wasn't strong enough, when in reality, I mean, the system literally just failed to apply its own legally mandated rules.
Well, someone finally slid us the rule book. I was going through a stack of analytical notes this week alongside this really fascinating YouTube transcript from a Dr. Marshall Barr.
Oh, his insights are just gold for this topic.
They really are. For some context for the listener, Dr. Barr is an Army Ranger, a Special Operations Combat Medic, a doctor, and, crucially, a former VA compensation and pension examiner.
Yeah, a CNP examiner.
Right.
Which is huge.
Exactly. So, we are using his insights today for our mission here, which is to completely decode the hidden mechanics of the VA claims process.
His perspective is just so rare, you know, because he has actually sat on the other side of that desk.
He knows how the sausage is made.
Right, exactly. He knows the physiological science of these claims. He knows what the examiners are putting in the reports. And, more importantly, he understands the deeply ingrained psychology of the raters.
The people who actually decide the fate of the claims.
Yes, the ones pulling the levers.
So, whether you are navigating the VA system yourself right now, or maybe you are helping a family member put a really frustrating claim together, this deep dive is for you.
Or honestly, even if you are just fascinated by the intricate and sometimes totally maddening world of bureaucratic law.
Yeah, because we are going to completely reframe how you view a rejection letter. We are talking about a little-known federal regulation today that actually forces the VA to approve what they call close call claims.
And we really need to be clear up front here. We are not talking about some, shady legal loophole or a clever bureaucratic trick.
Right, this isn't a hack.
No, not at all. We are talking about a decades-old federal law that was designed specifically to protect veterans.
But it is just consistently and systematically ignored in practice.
Unfortunately, yeah, it is.
So let's just pull the curtain back on this specific law. Dr. Barr refers to it as the benefit of the doubt rule. What is the actual regulation we are looking at here?
Okay, so the citation is 38 CFR 3102.
38 CFR 3.102. Got it.
Yeah, and in the language of the actual federal regulation, it states that when there is an approximate balance of positive and negative evidence regarding any issue material to a claim, the VA shall give the benefit of the doubt to the claimant.
Wait, approximate balance? I mean, in plain English, this is basically the tie goes to the runner rule in baseball, right?
That is exactly what it is. It establishes a strict 50-50 standard.
Okay.
So if the medical and historical evidence supporting your claim and the evidence against your claim are roughly equal, like picture a perfectly balanced scale, the VA must decide in your favor.
That seems pretty straightforward.
It is. And notice the wording there. It doesn't say they may decide or like they should heavily consider deciding. The law literally says shall.
Shall, meaning they have to.
Exactly. It is a non-negotiable legal mandate. If a reasonable doubt arises regarding whether a condition originated in service, that doubt has to be resolved for the veteran.
Okay, but I am trying to square that with the reality on the ground, you know?
Oh, yeah.
If this is a federal mandate, why are roughly a third of initial claims denied?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. And according to Dr. Barr's notes, most denial letters completely omit the fact that this standard even exists. So, if the golden rule is that ties go to the veteran, why are so many ties resulting in flat-out rejections?
Well, the disconnect really comes down to workplace culture fundamentally clashing with federal law.
How so? What does the culture look like?
So VA raters operate in a really high-volume, high-stress environment, and they are typically trained to look for a preponderance of evidence.
Preponderance, that's a legal term, right?
Yeah, it means evidence that clearly and definitively tips one way or the other. So culturally, they are just inclined to find a clear winner so they can close the file and move on.
Ah, I see. They want to be a judge in a courtroom, banging the gavel and declaring, this side is definitively right and this side is definitively wrong.
Exactly. So when they look at this massive mountain of paperwork in a file, they tend to treat a negative C&P exam, the one conducted by the VA's own contracted doctors, as the ultimate unquestionable authority.
Even if the veteran submits their own positive evidence.
Even then, the internal culture just dictates letting that VA exam declare a definitive winner rather than calling it a tie.
So they just actively avoid acknowledging an approximate balance.
Yeah, because it goes against their daily operational habit of finding that preponderance of evidence we talked about.
Wow. So they sweep the tie under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
They just send out a generic denial letter stating the evidence was simply insufficient.
Right.
Which leaves the veteran sitting at home, completely in the dark about how close they actually were to winning.
And the veteran reads that word insufficient and assumes their case was just incredibly weak.
They think they got blown out of the water.
Exactly. They don't realize they were actually at 49% or 50%, and the rater just chose not to apply the tiebreaker rule.
That is so frustrating.
Okay.
I mean, the theory makes total sense. The law says 50 over 50 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But I am trying to picture this actually playing out in a real VA office.
It does play out, though.
Well, have we seen a veteran actually use this obscure legal standard to force a rater's hand? I know the sources mention a specific case study of a veteran Dr. Barr calls Martinez.
Yes, Martinez. His journey is the absolute perfect illustration of the gap between how the VA usually operates and how they can be legally forced to operate.
So, Martinez is an Army airborne veteran, right? 8 years of service, multiple jumps under his belt.
Yep, lots of jumps.
He comes home. His lower back pain gets progressively worse over the years, and he finally files a claim, but his service treatment records only showed a few minor complaints of back pain.
Right, there was no specific catastrophic injury documented during his active duty.
Right. He just receives a diagnosis of degenerative disc disease well after he gets out.
And that is an incredibly common scenario. I mean, the cumulative wear and tear of military service isn't always marked by a dramatic helicopter Medimac.
Yeah, sometimes it is literally just years of carrying heavy packs and jumping out of planes.
Exactly. So he goes to his mandatory C&P exam, and the VA examiner writes that his condition is, quote, less likely than not related to his service.
Less likely than not? That's a death sentence for a claim.
Pretty much. The examiner essentially chalks the degenerative spinal changes up to just normal age-related wear.
So, Martinez receives the standard denial letter, case closed.
Yeah.
And under normal circumstances, this is exactly where a veteran just throws their hands up and walks away. So, how did Martinez flip this without just yelling at the bureaucracy?
Well, he fundamentally changed his strategy. He don't try to bury the VA in a mountain of new paperwork.
Which is what everyone thinks you have to do.
Right, and he didn't attack the VA examiner's competence either. He used a really targeted approach to just balance the scale.
Okay, what did he do?
He went out and secured one strong private nexus letter from a medical provider.
A nexus letter? Just to clarify, that's the medical opinion that formally links a current physical condition to a specific event or exposure during military service, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, what was in this specific letter that made such a huge difference?
So, his private provider detailed the physiological realities of his actual service. The letter explained that repetitive parachute landings cause severe cumulative trauma to the spine.
Which makes perfect sense.
Right. The provider noted that Martinez's specific occupational specialty involved massive repeated spinal loading.
Oh, okay.
And his specific pattern of degeneration was highly consistent with service-related trauma, not simply just getting older.
Okay, so now he has his own doctor saying yes while the VA doctor says no.
Mm-hmm.
But we just established earlier that the VA prefers their own doctors.
They absolutely do.
So, how did he keep them from just ignoring his private letter entirely?
This is the brilliant part. He explicitly framed his entire appeal around the federal law we just discussed.
The 3.102 thing.
Yes. In his written statement, he argued that he presented two competing medical opinions from qualified professionals. He stated that the C&P examiner's opinion and his private medical opinion were in conflict, but neither was inherently more credible than the other.
Oh, I love that. He basically wrote, you have your smart doctor, I have my smart doctor, it's a draw.
That's exactly it. He literally invoked the statute. He wrote that because the evidence is in approximate balance, the benefit of the doubt must be resolved in his favor under 38 CFR 3.102.
So, he literally trapped them with their own rule book?
He did. By explicitly citing the legal standard of balance, he forced the Board of Veterans' Appeals to actually look at the law, not just rely on their workplace culture.
And what happened?
The board had to acknowledge the opinions were roughly equal in weight. They applied the rule and they granted him a 20% rating for his lumbar spine condition.
A 20% rating? I mean, the financial impact of that rating is staggering when you look at the math.
That's life-changing.
A 20% rating is roughly $340 a month right now. Over a 2-5-year period, that is over $100,000 in tax-free compensation.
Yeah, it adds up fast.
And he won that not because his evidence was overwhelmingly, undeniably better than the VA's evidence. He won because his evidence was exactly equal, and he knew the precise legal mechanism to force them to honor the tie.
Exactly. Martinez's success hinged entirely on shifting from a mindset of battling the VA to a mindset of balancing the VA.
Balancing, I really like that.
The sources refer to this as the balance, not battle strategy.
Okay, so I'm picturing this seesaw concept, and it sounds incredibly empowering in theory, but I mean, the VA still has the ultimate home court advantage here.
They definitely do.
What stops a rater from just looking at your private doctor's letter and saying, well, nope, our doctor's still better, so we win? The sources talk heavily about a concept called probative weight.
Oh, probative weight, yeah.
How does that ruin a veteran's balance?
So, probative weight is basically the subjective trump card the VA uses to avoid calling a tie. It is legal jargon for how credible, persuasive, or comprehensive a piece of evidence is.
Okay.
And the VA has a massive amount of wiggle room here to basically declare their side of the scale heavier.
Give me an example of how they use that wiggle room to tip the scale.
Okay, so they will look at your private doctor's letter and find administrative reasons to devalue it. They might argue that the VA's CMP examiner reviewed your entire 500-page service treatment record while your private doctor only looked at your recent MRI and a brief medical history.
Oh, I see.
Right, because the VA doctor supposedly had a more comprehensive view of your history, the rater will declare the VA's negative opinion has more probative weight.
And just like that, the balance is instantly broken and they don't have to apply the tiebreaker rule
Exactly.
to get out of it. So, it is not enough to just put a rock on your side of the scale.
No,
It has to be the exact same density and size as their rock.
that's a great way to put it.
How does a veteran actually build that probative weight mechanically?
Well, let's contrast Martinez with a hypothetical veteran who fails to understand probative weight. We'll call him John.
Okay, John.
So John has the exact same back pain, gets the same denial, and goes to his family doctor. His doctor scribbles like a 2-sentence note on a prescription pad saying, John has degenerative disc disease, and it is my medical opinion that this is from his time in the Army.
And John submits that thinking he just created a perfect 50/50 tie.
Right, he thinks he's golden.
But the VA is going to look at that prescription pad and say, this is just a raw conclusion. There is no medical math behind this.
They will completely obliterate it. They will state John's evidence lacks probative value.
It's too brief.
Partially, yes. John's doctor didn't cite any medical literature. He didn't explain the biomechanics of the injury. And most importantly, John's doctor didn't specifically address and refute the medical rationale of the VA's examiner.
Ah, so to actually balance the scale, your private evidence has to aggressively mirror the scope and depth of their evidence.
It has to systematically neutralize their advantage. To build real probative weight, your private doctor's letter needs to state explicitly that they reviewed your entire claims file.
Not just the recent stuff.
Right. It needs to provide a thorough literature-backed medical rationale. It needs to look at the CNP examiner's specific negative opinion, like the claim that Martinez's back was just age-related wear and clinically dismantled.
So we really have to do the work.
You do. You have to force genuine equipoise.
Equipoise.
Yeah. That is a state where a reasonable person cannot clearly say one opinion is better than the other.
What about veterans who are missing official records, though? Let's say you didn't go to sick call because you were deployed in a combat zone, and you didn't want to leave your unit shorthanded.
That happens all the time.
Right. And then the VA denies you for insufficient documentation of an in-service event. You don't have a medical record to balance their lack of a medical record.
In that case, you balance that specific deficiency with buddy statements.
Bloody statements.
Yeah, you gather written accounts from the people who served with you, who saw the injury happen, or who saw you limping around the barracks trying to hide the pain. So the VA says, we have zero official paperwork proving this happened. You counter with, well, I have 3 sworn statements from eyewitnesses detailing exactly when and how it happened.
You are matching their negative administrative weight with your positive lay evidence.
Exactly. You build the other side of the seesaw.
Okay, let's say you've built the perfect seesaw. Your private doctor reviewed the whole file, they cited the literature and countered the VA's logic, and you have buddy statements.
It's looking good.
It is a textbook, undeniable tie. But you're still dealing with a raider whose entire workplace culture just screams at them to find a winner. What if they just stubbornly ignore the tie anyway? How do you spring the legal trap?
This is where the specific language of the law becomes your absolute strongest weapon. You must explicitly cite the law 38 CFR 3.102 in your initial claim or your formal appeal.
Just put it right in there?
Yep, and you must use the exact phrase, the evidence is in approximate balance.
You literally write their own legal jargon into your personal statement?
Yes. Because by forcing this specific statutory language into the official permanent record, you strip away their ability to quietly ignore it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right? If you don't invoke the rule, the raider is not going to magically apply it out of the goodness of their heart. But if you put it in writing, they are legally forced to address your specific argument.
So what does this actually look like for the listener staring at a confusing stack of VA paperwork right now? Like, if they put 38 CFR 3.102 inches their letter and the VA still denies them, how does this strategy actually help them win later?
Well, it creates a specific legally reviewable error.
A reviewable error?
Yeah. If you cite the law, claim approximate balance, and they still deny you, they can no longer just stamp insufficient evidence on the file and move on. They are legally forced to articulate exactly why the evidence was not a tie.
They have to show their mouth.
Exactly. They have to justify their subjective reasoning in writing.
And according to Dr. Barr's insights, the language the VA uses in these denial letters often gives the game away.
It really does.
He notes that if you look at your denial letter and see phrases like, the evidence was insufficient or not conclusive, the VA is actually accidentally admitting that it was a close call.
Yes. The phrase not conclusive literally means the evidence did not definitively tip one way or the other. It means it was a tie.
Wow.
If they admit the evidence was not conclusive, but they still denied the claim, they have documented their own violation of federal law.
That is huge.
So you take that written admission, point out the explicit violation of 38 CFR 3.102, and you escalate the case to a higher authority.
You take it entirely out of the hands of the initial raider.
Exactly. You request a higher level review, or you appeal to the Board of Veterans' Appeals.
Because they look at things differently.
Yes. The board is made up of administrative law judges. They respect the legal standard of equipoise and are far more willing to enforce the letter of the law than an initial raider who is just burdened by a quota system.
You are forcing the system to operate on written statutes, not entrenched habits.
Exactly. You take back control.
Okay. Before anyone listening tries to use this regulation as a magic wand to claim, a paper cut from yesterday as a service-connected injury, we need a serious reality check here.
Yeah, we definitely do.
We have to establish the strict limits of this legal tool. You can't just slap 38 CFR 3.102 on a terrible claim and expect a massive back paycheck in the mail.
No, not at all. Dr. Barr is very emphatic about this limitation in the source material. The rule requires genuine equipoise.
Genuine equipoise.
Yes, it requires a real factual 50-50 balance of probative evidence.
So walk us through the scenarios where this seesaw strategy completely fails.
Sure. First, it fails catastrophically if there is zero positive evidence to begin with. You cannot balance a scale with absolutely nothing on your side. If you have no private medical nexus letter, no service treatment records, and no buddy statements, there is nothing to balance against a negative VA exam. The rule requires actual evidence on both sides of the ledger.
Yeah. You can't just yell benefit of the doubt because you really feel like your knee pain is connected to your service.
Exactly. Feelings aren't evidence.
Right. What's the second scenario?
Second, the strategy fails if the evidence clearly and objectively weighs against your claim.
Okay. Give me an example.
Imagine a scenario where the VA has 3 different medical specialists who all conclusively state your condition is genetic and entirely unrelated to service.
Okay.
If all you have to counter that is one vague statement from a buddy saying, his knee hurts sometimes in the field, that is not an approximate balance. The scale clearly tips against you, and the rule simply does not apply.
So it'd be crystal clear for the listener, this is not a shady loophole for bad claims. It is a federally mandated safety net for genuinely valid close call claims that are just being crushed by bureaucratic stinginess.
That is a perfect way to summarize it.
It is for the claims where reasonable, intelligent medical professionals could look at the evidence and genuinely disagree, where the connection is medically plausible, but just not an absolute slam dunk.
And that is exactly the scenario where the law dictates the veteran must win.
If we step back and look at the philosophical core of this issue, it reveals an incredibly profound tension.
It really does.
Dr. Barr points out that the VA claim system was explicitly designed by Congress to be non-adversarial. Congress literally drafted these laws so that veterans wouldn't have to fight tooth and nail, hiring expensive lawyers just to win close cases. The intention of the law, shall give the benefit of the doubt, is pure support.
Yeah, they built a system meant to catch people, not fight them.
Exactly.
Yet the daily operational reality of the raiders has morphed into something deeply adversarial. Their instinct is to demand overwhelming proof, to hunt for a definitive winner rather than just honor a tie.
It's wild how that happens.
The administrative culture has quietly, almost invisibly, overridden the actual compassionate intent of the federal law because the laws on the books only matter if the people sitting at the desks are willing to apply them.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener. If you are fighting the system, you have just been handed a massive paradigm shift. You are no longer trying to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt like you are a prosecutor in a criminal trial. You don't have to completely demolish the VA's arguments. You are just fighting to get to 50 over 50.
Just balance the scale.
Yes, you now have the exact language, the specific federal code, and the mechanical knowledge of probative weight to turn a frustrating, not quite enough denial into a tie goes to the runner victory. You stop the game, you pull out the rule book, and you make them count the score correctly.
It's an absolute game changer.
It really is. But it makes you wonder, though, if an entrenched workplace culture can quietly overwrite federal law in a massive system explicitly designed to help veterans, where else in our daily lives are we losing ties we don't even know we're playing?
If you found this video helpful, please consider donating to helpallvets.org. Thank you.
A special thank you to MarketUS.com for furnishing us this information. You can reach them at MarketUS.com or call them at 954-636-3232. Before we go, this deep dive was created by the MarketUS.com team. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It's right below the subscribe link.